About a year ago, Jarren Sorters, a then freshman at Royal Grove High School, was diagnosed with cancer. Without hesitation, friends, family, and community members did what they could do to help him and his family. Jarren isn't with us anymore, but if you look around, you'll see that no one fights alone.
Jarren Truman Sorters was born to Donna and Joey Sorters on September 11, 2000. The family moved to Northwest Arkansas the summer after Jarren's kindergarten year. In 2008, Jarren officially became a Prairie Grove Tiger. Prairie Grove is a small town in Northwest Arkansas, about 10 miles outside of Fayetteville.
His number one love was sports. Probably fault of mine, because that was what I just pushed on him, and he grew up around it, you know, and everything. We went to a baseball game. He's little, you know. He sat and watched. You know, it's not like, can I go get ice cream, or, you know, he was more, I'm watching and learning. And, you know, as he got older, we'd sit there and he'd start seeing things like, Dad, why are they doing that? You know, and I think that's a good question, son. I'm not for sure why they, you know, or why are they not doing this? So, you know, he understood the games, all of them, at an early age.
So I knew the family, and I knew him from Pee-wee and watching him play and admiring like the athletic side of him. But then I got to see them in a totally different light, going to games with them and seeing every Razorback statistic in my ear, or how many times Ryan Mallett did this, or how many times he met this guy, how many signatures he had. He knew everything. And so, you know, Jackson was a little bit younger and was kind of like, this is so cool. Jarren was like, here's what we need to do and here's why. And then me and Joey would sit there and just like, dude, he's so sharp.
Jarren was not the biggest kid, but had the biggest drive of anyone I've ever coached. He, you could take a lot of attributes of him, his toughness, his leadership abilities, but really I think it all came from an internal fire that set him apart from everyone else. And it's a rare quality. It's things you see when you turn on the TV and watch the Olympics, the look in those guys' eyes. Jarren had that look in him, and that was, you know, evident really in everything that he did.
He was just a competitor. He just, you know, always played hard. He was the smartest kid, the scrappiest kid, and just like, you know, he was a kid. He might have been the smallest kid on the court, but, you know, there was no doubt, you know, who was the best player on the court. He would be the best player on the court too.
He always pushed me to get better at everything I did, whether it was schoolwork, baseball, basketball, anything we did, I used to go over to his house and we'd just play basketball for hours and play one-on-one or horse, just to improve our game together. And that's what I most loved about him.
I think he looked up to me, but I also looked up to him. And we just had like a special relationship where we wanted to make each other better. And I just loved being around him, hearing him laugh. We always had little inside jokes that were so stupid.
In the summer between his 8th and 9th grade year, something didn't feel right to Jarren.
He started having pain in his foot in May. And we just kind of chalked it up in May to he was doing basketball at school every day, doing baseball two or three nights a week, doing practice, playing, you know, 4 or 5 games on the weekend. So it was just, we just kind of chalked it up to, oh, you know, it's just growing
sore,
that.
Just tired.
And by June, it was continuing, so we actually had it x-rayed, and the x-ray didn't show anything, so they did a couple other things, did a CT, couldn't really find anything there, so they just kind of started this with physical therapy. July he was off, and so we thought, okay, this is going to be great, this is going to give us time to start healing. We were still doing physical therapy, and it just got worse. It kept getting worse and worse, and we were actually at the beach.
And we actually went out to eat, and
yes.
went back by the mall, and we were doing something. He says, my foot is killing me tonight. And I remember he threw his shoe off, and that was the last time he had his shoe on.
After a series of tests, Jarren and his family found out about the source of the problems in his foot.
They called us back to that room, and I'll never forget sitting there, and he said, it's cancer. And my first thought was, and I said this, I'm like, well, you don't know that. We don't have the biopsy back yet. And he said, I know it. I saw the cells.
Jarren was diagnosed with a rare type of soft tissue sarcoma.
Sarcoma
is any cancer that begins in what we call the connective tissues. Sarcomas are then cancers of like the muscles, the tendons, the bones. So that's a lot of different types of cancers are called sarcomas. With sarcoma, especially in people under the age of 18, especially under the age of 15, it's very rare. For every 100 cancers in kids, about 3 of them are going to be soft tissue sarcomas.
So when they told us that it was, he said, without a doubt, it is cancer. But of course, we have to send it off to get the pathology report back. And so that was on August 13th. So for the next 2-3 weeks, we went once or twice a week to Little Rock. More tests, more tests, more tests. Got to get a treatment plan, got to get a treatment plan. And then on September 2nd, they identified it and said, okay, this is our treatment plan. We're starting chemo tomorrow, and we're going to do an amputation in October.
Even throughout like his sickness, he was so like, he still joked around like nothing was happening. Like we went over to his house, you know, pretty much as soon as he was diagnosed, and like nothing was different. We hung out and sat on the couch and just joked around.
Jarren was the same like throughout the whole thing. I don't know, he was strong-willed and always funny and had a positive attitude and was caring, compassionate with everybody, and I don't know, he just treated everybody the same no matter what the circumstances were.
As Jarren continued his fight, Prairie Grove, as well as other surrounding communities, rallied around he and his family.
It was really, really inspiring to see when everybody came together for the Pray for Jarren night at the football game, and to walk in that football stadium and see everybody wearing a gold shirt, no matter where they were from or if they knew Jarren or not. I think that was so touching, and it was really powerful. And to see when we released the yellow balloons and everything, like that was one of the most powerful moments, you know. And it really brought us together as a community, you know, and everybody stood strong with Jarren just as he was standing strong in his fight.
March 30th, we had his regular, well, the end of March we had his PET scans. And on March 30th we had our appointment, and they came in and said that unfortunately the chemotherapy, it had worked on the areas he had behind his knee and in his pelvic area, but that it had spread to his lungs. If you've never learned, if you don't know anything about death by cancer, it's not a pretty sight. And so that was our fear, is that, you know, he would lay in a coma or he would lay in bed or be so medicated from pain medicine, and that, you know, that's not Jarren. And we wanted Jarren to be Jarren until his time was gone. So I felt like that was an answered prayer.
Yep.
I actually talked to him. We were sleeping in the living room at that time. He was more comfortable on the couch, so we were sleeping on the couch. And I talked to him about 2:45. And then at 3:45 I woke up and he was gone. He received his ultimate healing. We always joke that he was running in heaven with a head full of hair, because right before he got sick, it was funny, it was the longest his hair had ever been. He wore his baseball cap with long hair underneath it. We called it his show hair. And so we're like, he's in heaven with his show hair and his legs.
We were all sitting at his funeral right there, and someone was giving a talk, I don't remember who, and they were like, they heard and on the TV that they said, you know, local kid from Prairie Grove loses his fight to cancer, and he said, you know, that's just not true, because he didn't lose his fight, you know, he won, because he never stopped fighting. and that's just the kind of guy he was.
You know, you feel like you fight, and then do you give up the fight? I don't think you give up the fight, you just change the way you fight and what you're fighting for. And at that point, he was fighting for his dignity and for peace for he and his family.
There's no way that we could have faced this without the Christian faith and love that people have shown to us. If I did not truly believe with all my heart that there was a God and there is a heaven, and that one day we will spend eternity there with him, there's no way I could get out of the bed in the morning. But that's one of the things that motivates me to keep going. God, somehow, even though we don't like it, God had a plan, and this, you know, this is what was supposed to, I guess, happen. I don't know, I just feel like faith has everything to do with it. And I guess as far as Jarren's faith, I was totally amazed all along the way. There's a verse that he and a friend, he and Michaela, shared back and forth a lot, and it's actually the one that we put on his tomb, on his headstone, and it's Romans 8:18, and it's a verse that he just really stuck with. It's on his phone, they would text it back and forth, and it's the one that, paraphrased, people call it, the pain that you're feeling can't compare to the joy that's coming. In the Bible, you know, it's the present sufferings cannot compare to the glory to be revealed to us, and I think he really focused on that.
If he has to leave, if he can leave a positive mark on thousands of other kids dealing with the same issues and thousands of other families dealing with the same issues, that's a positive. That's a legacy. So nothing's in vain then.
He treated everybody like they should be treated, and that's just really something that I know everybody has told me that they aspire to be like whenever they're older, and even right now that they've changed because Jarren was such a great person to them. And I think that's the biggest legacy that he wanted to be remembered for, was being kind to others and being strong-willed.
Being compassionate, being driven, and being a fighter. And I think ultimately that's what drives us or helps us to get up and face each day, is knowing that, you know, we could just lay in bed and give up, but Jarren wouldn't do that if he were here. That's not what he did when he was diagnosed. And so I feel like ultimately, I mean, that is his legacy. And as a parent, it makes you proud to say, you know what, that's my son.
In the words of legendary commentator and a fellow member of the Battle of Cancer, Stuart Scott, when you die, it does not mean you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and the manner in which you live. Jarren did not lose his fight, and it can be evidenced in the lives he has touched and the examples he has set. The legacy of number 27 will live on forever, as well as his proving of the fact that no one fights alone.